And now, ladies and gentlemen, the So Bros Network proudly brings to you some in-depth movie discussion with our resident film critic, Brandon Vick.
Happy evening, everyone. The Vick's Flicks podcast is here.
Welcome in for a special bonus episode of the Vick's Flicks podcast for the month of March. You got another one coming next week. We're going to be talking about Mickey 17. But for now, we wanted to just kind of catch up and talk a little bit about Queen of the Ring. This is your host for the Vick's Flicks podcast right here on Nashville Movie Dispatch, Stoney Keeley. You can follow me on Twitter at Stoney Keeley, collectively at Sobros Network on all major social media platforms. And of course, NashvilleMovieDispatch.substack.com and Nashville Movie Dispatch wherever you take in your podcast. Joined as usual by the man whose namesake this show bears. He's a board member of the Music City Film Critics Association. He's a member of the Southeastern Film Critics Association. He is our resident film critic, Mr. Big Shot Brandon Vick. Brandon, how you doing today, my man?
Not too bad. Wind was messing up my toupee.
Yeah, man, it's been crazy. I feel like the roof's going to blow off my house.
I had part of my house come off. It was
Really?
It was a little part that's right over a window outside, but it actually was already loose, but the wind really helped it. But I'm hoping it's a simple just kind of nail it back in situation.
Yeah. I was doing the Hot Read podcast on Tuesday.
Outside?
And not outside,
Oh,
no.
thank God.
But I had to tell JT, I'm like, man, can you hear what's happening above me? Because it really, I'm surprised. I mean, maybe there are chunks of my roof out in the backyard. And I just haven't checked it.
It's not in the front, but have you gone in the backyard to look?
No, I haven't yet. Now that I think about it, but I'm just like, man, this is loud. It sounds like a storm. And my wife got home that night and was like, man, it's crazy out there. I was swerving all over the road because of this wind. And I'm like,
And now it's gotten chilly as hell in that wind. It was like, I think on the way over here, it was 40-something degrees, felt like 24.
that sucks. That sucks so bad. Very, very happy that I haven't really had to leave the house this week.
Yeah,
So
you're lucky.
it's
There's a lot of crazy things going on in this world.
yeah.
Like
Well,
at
anytime
Walgreens.
it's dangerous business walking out your front door.
It
these
is. It
days.
really is.
Yeah. So, fresh off of our almost 4-hour Oscars live stream,
Wow.
now that the dust is kind of settled, where do you stand on Anora being the night's big winner?
I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I'm happy for Sean Baker winning 4 Oscars in one night for one film.
Yeah.
I saw a thing where it was kind of like a rare thing for him to win editing on top of, because a lot of the directors are not the editors.
Mhm.
But I think, obviously that is changing. And even some like Steven Soderbergh, his cinematography just goes by a different name.
Huh.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah. And but yeah, I'm happy with it. I mean, listen, it was in my top 5 of the year last year. So I love the film.
Is there any part of you, because I'll put it this way. I have felt throughout the week that Mikey Madison had the best performance of the group, but there is still a part of me that was like, man, that Demi Moore acceptance speech would have hit like crack.
Yes.
Is there any part of you
Yes.
that is, over the course of the week, started to look back and, I don't want to say felt sorry for Demi Moore, but thought, you know what, Mikey Madison's young. They probably could have given this one to Demi Moore.
Maybe. I thought you were going to say and give it to Madison later in life.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yes and no. It's really tough because I think when we were kind of setting up for it, I'm like, for me, Mikey Madison had the best performance,
Yeah.
but how can you root against Demi Moore? And that's more about, and the thing is, I know a lot of times people are like, oh, you know what? They kind of do it to kind of crown your career.
Yeah.
But I think Demi Moore has never been like this. I mean, that was a bold, ambitious, fearless performance. So her winning, I don't think would have been seen as some kind of career achievement. I think that like,
Yeah,
hey, listen,
sure,
you
sure.
went, but then it's like, you know what? What a ride Demi Moore got to be on anyway. Like, I hate that it came down to the very end where it was almost a guarantee she was probably going to win.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty big. She was winning everything.
Yeah. The
I mean,
only
it is.
thing she lost was BAFTA.
Who won the BAFTA? Was it Mikey Madison?
I think it was Mikey Madison. And I think that, so she kind of pulled like I probably shouldn't say this because I can't back it up, but I want to think Adrian Brody only won the BAFTA when he won the Oscar for The Pianist.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I feel like he lost everything else, but there was
Yeah.
one that stuck out. But to win the SAG award and then like, it almost just seemed like the BAFTA was the exception.
But does the SAG kind of feel more like your peers, your colleagues would be a little more likely to say, man, she deserves this?
Yeah, well, usually
instead of being like the critics that are just like, nope, by the book, we're judging based on performance.
Yeah.
And Madison's was better.
You kind of feel like you would get the push, that would. But, Timothy Chalamet won the SAG and then lost. So,
which, I mean, it makes sense from what we know of Adrian Brody. I don't know if he's the most like well-liked guy, easiest to work with.
But keep in mind, Oscars is not critics.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Okay.
So Oscars, so there's the Screen Actors Guild that are voting for SAG, obviously. But then the PGA, the DGA, all the other guilds combined form the Oscars. So when they say it's people, it is, but the SAG award is it's actors voting on actors.
Yeah.
And then you have like Golden Globes is the foreign press, critics is Critics' Choice. But, and I honestly, I'm not sure about the BAFTA. I think it kind of works the same way as far as like the Oscars, like all these different
bunch of groups
divisions.
Together. Yeah.
But the Oscars usually, most of the time, aligns with SAG, but SAG is just a piece of who's voting at the Oscars.
Yeah.
So, you also get these, anonymous ballots where people like didn't finish a movie. I think I said on the live stream that someone said they weren't going to vote for Ralph Fiennes because he already won one for Schindler's List, which he didn't.
When he didn't win.
Yeah. He's never won an Oscar.
Yeah.
So you also kind of think like, did Mikey Madison only win by like 5 votes? And was it people like that were that oblivious or dumb who thought Demi Moore thought she's already won an Oscar for like G.I. Jane? So they were like, I can't do it again.
Yeah.
I don't
know. It's like people that are just maybe look down on the genre. We heard a lot of that.
Didn't like it. Thought it was all makeup and not Demi. I mean, it really is stupid on how people vote.
Because there was a sentiment out there that was a lot of like good for the substance, good for the genre to get the recognition.
Yeah.
But no, it is not an award winner. But
which it did. I think
it won an Oscar.
Yeah, I was saying it is an Oscar-winning film.
I don't know. I don't remember. I'd have to look it up. But that was.
But Demi Moore wasn't even in that. Like, it's good to just be nominated. Like, she was the front runner going into the Oscars. So I imagine Mikey's surprise is legit.
Yeah.
As was everyone else's. But I also feel like, well, that aligns with how I felt as far as like just performance, not the legend that Demi Moore is, and Mikey Madison is just getting started. But there's no way that this doesn't change Demi Moore's life again.
Yeah.
She's already had a nice run, and now I feel like she has, I feel like it's one of those, it's kind of sort of like a Jamie Lee Curtis. I know Jamie Lee Curtis won, but I feel like Demi Moore is now going to be thought of more than just maybe, I think what she was mostly known for, I guess, as she called a popcorn movie star. I really think this will give her a whole new sort of, it sounds weird to have a new career, so maybe a second win, third win, whatever she's on. So the fact that she ran it that hard and at the end didn't get it, it's bittersweet because I agree with the win, but my heart tells me it would have, Demi Moore up there would have
been a great moment.
I in a way would have meant more because You
Sure.
know, I mean, for a certain generation, people that are Mikey Madison's age probably don't realize the big deal of like Ghost and A Few Good Men and
Oh man,
things like that, you
Yeah.
know? So,
it's just an interesting thought I've had.
yeah.
because
yeah. No,
it's
a
like
fair one.
I don't have a gripe with Mikey Madison,
No.
but it's like, oh man, you don't know. It's like losing the Super Bowl. Like it's so hard
Will
to
you
get to
get
that
back?
point that you never know
Right.
when you're going to get back. It's like the Cincinnati Bengals, man. Like everybody said they were the up and coming team. They get to the Super Bowl and lose, and then it's like, don't worry, they'll be back next year. But they haven't been back since.
I guess only time will tell because
Yeah.
Demi Moore could very well find that next one and work with somebody else and say, oh, you know,
Yeah.
I like that it was Best Actress. I feel like a lot of times there's a certain element where it seems like when you're well known and you just haven't gotten that right role, they kind of reward you in supporting actress, which takes me back to Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Demi Moore
Yeah.
being in Best Actress I thought was a big deal. But
See-
I mean, the woman's got more awards now than she's ever had before, and she'll always be an Oscar nominee. But I mean, it is different than being an Oscar winner. So
Yeah, I'm looking now to see if there's anything on her filmography, if she has anything.
I bet I'll be very interested in seeing what she does next.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying she may not show up in a DC movie or something, but I have a feeling she's going to kind of seek out female directors that
She's been in a
have
lot.
something that kind of have something to say on especially kind of the life and the age that she's at now. Sort of kind of what Nicole Kidman has been doing here in the past few years, working with, gosh, I think she's worked with almost 20 female directors in like 4 years or 5 years. I mean, she's mainly, I could see her, you know, headlining a limited series, you know, I mean, I really think there's a lot for her out there that I don't think people thought of her before. So if anything, this had to change the perception of Hollywood on who Demi Moore is and what she's capable of doing.
She is currently filming a film called I Love Boosters.
Okay.
It is an upcoming American adventure science fiction comedy film written and directed by Boots Riley and starring
Oh.
Keke Palmer, Demi Moore, Lakeith Stanfield, and Will Poulter.
Oh, good for her. That's a different one.
So that's a little different.
Yeah.
So what?
I feel like she might even intentionally stay away from like big budget superhero
yeah.
IP stuff. I think she might actually just not she might not do that.
What?
I don't know. I don't think I would. I think if the substance became what it is, I would really, I think, and even in some of her acceptance speeches is that she knows she's more than what I think people have told her. So
Yeah.
she was one of the great stories through this Oscar season.
What did you think of Sorry to Bother You? That's Boots
I
Riley's
liked it.
other
It's
film.
crazy.
It's unhinged.
It's unhinged for sure.
Surreal.
Yeah.
Kind of weird
I
feeling.
can't say by the end I was totally locked in.
Yeah, it
But
kind
these
of.
swings I like.
Yeah.
And I think Boots Riley did he do that Lakeith Stanfield one, the Book of Clarence?
Only had two credits, but that was according to Wikipedia. It was just I Love
Oh, that's
Boosters and Sorry to Bother
Oh,
You.
okay. All right. Then no, I'm thinking maybe he was a producer on it.
Yeah.
But
I didn't look, but he did have some like producer only credits and
yeah,
stuff like
it's
that.
unhinged. It's
Yeah.
it
So I mean,
blows
I
the
can
mind.
see like, okay, the substance was different.
yeah.
This probably going to be pretty different too. So, maybe that door is still open.
Yeah. And she may have taken it right after the substance. I mean, she may not
Yeah.
even that may have
Yeah.
been something that she started before even this
if
Oscar
it's-
run, I would
if
imagine.
it's filming now, I would think talks began quite
Yeah.
a while ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Man,
but good for her. But
it's-
then on the flip side, I'm like, well, what's Mikey Madison going to do? Because
Well-
she's only been I mean, she's worked with Tarantino, Sean Baker. I mean, she's
what's somebody
who's
gonna
next?
give her the bag? That was something else that was funny. It was like the movie Sean Baker is about to make with a big budget studio is going to be so ridiculous.
I mean, big budget, I guess, in maybe his terms, but I don't think he'll. I mean, I think he'll
Think he's
keep
sticking
doing
with what he knows.
I think he might get different people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't. Willem Dafoe, he'll be back. Willem Dafoe loves working with the people he's worked with before.
She does not. Mikey Madison does not have
Anything yet?
anything listed
No.
under upcoming.
She will. Well, there's always that. What do you do right after? What's that next one?
Yeah.
For Eddie Murphy, it was Norbit.
It's unfortunate. That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, she was nominated everything this cycle.
Yeah.
SAG, Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA, Academy Awards. Wild. Wait, she did not get the Rising Star Award at the BAFTAs. So who did? Do you know off the top of your head?
I want to think, I think I'm thinking of Critics' Choice. That the girl Macy from My Old Ass.
Oh, that was that was a good one.
Was it Dee Dee? Was it the kid from Dee Dee?
Well, I'm trying to get to it. I can't find it.
Let me see.
David Johnson. What was he in?
David Johnson?
Yeah.
Let me see what he's in.
I really don't know. He's credited for Alien Romulus.
Oh, yeah, that's what he's in. He was in Rye Lane. That was a good movie. That's a Hulu movie.
So,
but yeah, that was it. Wow. He was good in Alien Romulus.
I never saw Alien Romulus.
Was he better than Mikey Madison? No.
Yeah.
No, he was not.
So it is March, and I don't know if this is always the case for you, but I'm looking at the slate of films that have come out so far this year and think to myself, I don't know that anything has been really that great. Now it feels like that's about to change with, you hope Mickey 17. It looks pretty good.
Yeah.
But there just doesn't. Is it always this quiet during the winter, or does this one feel particularly quiet to you? I felt like Wolfman was a bit of a letdown.
Oh yeah, there
Captain
hasn't
America came out. That was a big release.
If you remember, this time last year we were having Dune Part 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it feels like winter thing's gonna ramp up.
I'll be honest, and I'm sure other people will disagree because I guess I think of like Snow White, or stuff. But to me, there's Mickey 17, and then there's Sinners by Ryan Coogler.
Oh,
now that's
I
April.
forgot about that.
That's in April with Michael B. Jordan.
We're getting a little momentum going.
But yeah, well, and it's also sort of like summer is almost here.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to
They
think
start
about
with
too.
April now,
Yeah.
but then it usually, Thunderbolts will kick it off.
So what do
do?
What do you think of movies, I guess, like Mickey 17 and Sinners, like coming out that you feel like could probably get a little awards buzz if they didn't come out so early? I know on the live stream we were talking a little bit about like Challengers and Civil War and Sing Sing, which I know Coleman Domingo was nominated, but I thought it deserved to be in the Best Picture running too. But like, you come out this time of year, you really allow for time to cool off by the time we get back to award season.
I don't think, and I'm not saying that some of these may not be brought up later. I don't think any of these have, I could see Mickey 17 maybe getting stuff like, below the line type things, but I don't know if any of them are going to be considered Oscar contenders come fall.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, just
now,
like the general
they might
premise.
be some of our favorites of the year, but I don't, I think most of the time you would think from the director of Parasite, but this one is more of, it looks a little more kind of wacky.
A little offbeat.
So, it's not quite,
Parasite was not a wacky movie.
No, not in this sense anyway, not in a funny, maybe fun way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think anything's probably going to strike us until you kind of get into, I'd at least say later on in the year. Like, I don't even know if like in the summer, really. You know how some kind of shot. I mean, you
Yeah.
know, I guess you got something like Oppenheimer, but for the most part, but you do have, I think Paul Thomas Anderson's new one comes out in like June.
PTA.
Yep. So I mean, there's some big heavy hitters that's going to start showing up. And listen, I mean, Ryan Coogler is
That's a name.
that's a name.
That's a
and
name.
Sinners looks awesome.
Yeah, it does.
I love that it was filmed for IMAX. Makes it appealing to go. Maybe I should go see it in IMAX.
Yeah, dying to see that one. What have you seen lately? What's anything stick out to you? I mean,
nothing really. Nothing really that.
I saw the Tom
great.
Green documentary. I liked it. I liked it.
That was fine.
It's a nice trip down memory lane
Yeah.
if you liked Tom Green.
Yeah. You have to like him if you want to do it. What have I seen? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank.
I
saw.
Still have 20 minutes left of Wicked to watch. I haven't finished it.
Oh well, you better get on that.
Yeah.
It was a big deal. I don't know if you know that. I have to go back. Oh, I saw Last Breath. That was actually the last one I saw, based off a documentary called Last Breath. That's Woody Harrelson and
Simu Liu.
yeah. That one was pretty good. I mean, it's an hour and 30 minutes, and I mean, it gets right into it. I could never do their job. That seems scary.
I tried to watch Nickel Boys, but I showed up to Opry Mills and the screening wasn't available anymore.
That's what I heard. How dare them?
I changed it from 3:30 to 7:45, and The Brutalist was on at 3:15. Was bummed about that. I still want to see The Brutalist. I just don't know.
You need to.
When I have the time to dedicate to the theater. I think it's still playing at the Belcourt.
I saw 2 movies that had Ed Harris in it.
Wow, you had a good day, is what it sounds like.
My Dead Friend Zoe.
Yeah.
And Riff Raff. Riff Raff is almost like a dysfunctional family comedy / gangster movie that has Bill Pullman's kid, Lewis Pullman, and it's got Gabrielle Union. It's got Pete Davidson, Bill Murray. It's fine. It's really an uneven thing, and there's not really a lot of depth to much of it, but almost everything has just kind of been, and I guess The Monkey, which I have a review of that on Nashville Movie Dispatch.
Yeah.
But everything has just kind of been like, oh, okay. Oh, you know what? That had a good cast, and you don't remember much. I will say, and I don't know if I'll get in trouble for this because I don't know where his standing is, but a couple years ago, I saw a movie at Sundance called Magazine Dreams that had, oh my God. What's his name?
Jonathan Majors. Yeah.
Thank you. I kind of want to see it again, but I will tell you, it was one of the best films I had seen, and his performance was extraordinary. It's the wrestler meets bodybuilding kind of thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And it does come out in a couple weeks because they actually showed a trailer of it in front of Last Breath. So I really think people should see it. It is a hell of an acting performance thing. So to answer your Oscar question, he won't because I don't think he's got a lot of bridges to amend, but
detractors. He's got some detractors.
That is
it
is a hell of a performance. A hell of a performance.
Well, we're going to talk about Mickey 17 on the next episode of the Vicks Flicks podcast, but we got together on today's show because Brandon caught a screening of Queen of the Ring, which is actually getting a theatrical release. This isn't
it'll
just
be out Friday.
I don't mean to, punch low or anything,
Yeah.
but I watched the preview and this looks like a straight to streaming.
Yeah, no, it will be. I mean, it'll be in theaters in Nashville anyway. So
and it has,
worth.
obviously major wrestling city, Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. And it had some really interesting names attached to it.
Yeah,
but I don't know. To me, it's just that even as a wrestling fan, it doesn't really look all that appealing. But you had the chance to see it, so why don't you tell us if maybe the marketing isn't doing it justice, or maybe the marketing is just
I hadn't seen anything.
Nail on the head.
I hadn't seen anything about it. I had gotten emails about it, and so
which we get a lot of emails, and a lot of the stuff that we get emails about is like B-movie.
It's all And at first, when I saw the poster, I thought it was Colby Smulders in this role.
I thought so too.
And I think Brett asked me the same thing, and I'm like, no, that's not her. But, well, and maybe because of Nashville being what it is, and I think the director, Ash Avildsen, he owns a record company and a production company, and I know he has things going on in LA and New York, but he must have an office in Nashville because a lot of the people that work there, it kind of felt like a red carpet kind of thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that worked there with him, Ace was his assistant. She was really great. I got to talk to her. She's the one that kind of had our tickets and everything. She was really nice. So I was lucky enough to get a ticket, and then they, so it was also open where you could buy the tickets on like the Regal app. So it was a mix of like critics and people that worked for the director and worked for the production company, along with just audiences that just, I'm assuming, wrestling fans.
Yeah.
When I first walked into the lobby, the first person I saw was Mick Foley.
Oh, sick.
And I'm like, oh, like, are they having like real wrestlers in this? And so Jerry Lynn was already there. While I was there, I watched Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett come in.
Jeff Jarrett, the king of Nashville
King
wrestling.
of Nashville.
Yeah.
And Mickey James was there. There was an AEW wrestler there who's also in the movie, but I wasn't familiar with her. She had red hair.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I didn't look up the cast.
But this was fun. I ended up talking to
Oh, is
Mickey.
it Tony Storm?
Oh,
Tony Storm is
No.
credited.
yeah,
in Queen of the Ring.
no. She I think who plays like Jenna or Jen?
Jen, June, maybe?
June, that's it.
Camille
That's-
is her name.
That's who it was.
Yeah. Oh, Britt Baker has a credit in this.
Yeah. Well, so
Naomi has a credit in this.
yes, she plays one of the very first, one of three first African-American women wrestlers. You see them in the movie, and that's all the explanation you get. Nothing else.
I just love that Josh Lucas and Walton Goggins ended up
Yeah.
in this film.
Yeah. So, Mickey James. So she was at the bar, and I was just watching to see because I was about to get popcorn and stuff. Well, I turned when she was walking by, and we met eyes. So my instinct reaction was, I looked at her like, how like, I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah.
That's how I looked at her.
Mm.
And I told her I was a big fan, which full transparency, I have no idea what she's doing.
You were a big fan
I just
of her.
meant I was a big fan when you were like acting like Trish Stratus, and which that was what, 20 years ago. So, but she actually made a comment, said, well, you gave me a look like I was supposed to know who you were. And I said, no. I was just shocked you were at the bar because I thought you were with the other wrestlers. Anyway, that awkward conversation ended with her saying that I told her I hope it's a good movie. She said it's going to be great, but she hasn't seen it. And I said, me neither. And that was it.
That sounds awesome.
So
what a great
that
interaction.
was fun. She was nice. I'm not knocking. She was like nice and like, hey, what was your name, Brandon? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it's nice to meet you. Have a good night. But I haven't seen it. Me neither. So, but I will say, as a longtime wrestling fan, I'm slightly embarrassed that I've never heard of Mildred Burke. That's who this movie's about.
But you got to think, like, she was way before our time. And, like,
Yeah.
the only... She was
30s to the 50s is what
30s
what
to
the
the
movie
50s.
covers.
She was the generation before Fabulous Moolah and Mae Young.
Yeah.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, she trained Fabulous Moolah.
I think she trained both because it showed... Well, Mae Young had already been wrestling, but Mae Young is played by...
Oh, so Mae Young's in the film,
Mae
too.
Young
Okay.
is... Yep, she is in it, and it's played by Eastwood. Francesca Eastwood,
Okay.
which I believe is the daughter or granddaughter of Clint Eastwood.
Very well.
And
But-
come to find out, they had a Q&A afterwards. They said it was her Mickey James's role. She has a cameo in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's very quick, and if you didn't know better, you wouldn't think she was in it. But apparently she had a lot of lines because they said it ended up being too confusing, I guess, with the other women wrestlers, but she played Fabulous Moolah.
Oh. Very well. Okay, then.
So I'm not sure how it would have been confusing if you just said she was Fabulous Moolah. That makes me think like,
Yeah.
hey, Mae Young and June, who? Who are they?
But
I didn't quite understand that.
But you got to think, like, we were probably only even exposed to Moolah and Mae Young because of the work they
Mark
did during
Henry.
the Attitude Era.
And
Getting power bombed through tables, taking guitar shots, and that sort of stuff. Like, this was a long time ago, but you know the name Mildred Burke because she was kind of the pioneer of women's wrestling. I think a lot of people think of Moolah and Mae Young as that, but Mildred Burke was kind of the catalyst for it all.
Yeah,
there might not be a Moolah and Mae Young if there's not
That's
a Mildred
very true.
Burke. And I know like people like Jim Cornette, who was tied to this film as well,
Yeah,
is
he's
like
in
a
it.
massive fan of hers.
Yeah.
And that's listening to his interviews and podcasts throughout the years. Like he's one of the people that really still brings her name up and keeps her in the conversation today.
Good, as it should. In case you don't know, Mildred Burke, Queen of the Ring, this is per Rotten Tomatoes, says an extraordinary true life tale that follows Mildred Burke, the legendary professional wrestler and single mom who defied incredible odds to become the first $1 million female athlete and the longest reigning champion at a time when the sport was banned across most of America. I think she was champion for like 20 years.
Yeah. She wrestled a lot of men too, if I'm not mistaken.
So, like you said, she was a pioneer. It seemed like there were other women wrestlers. It looked like she at least brought it to like a mainstream audience. And I don't think it wasn't taken seriously at all. And at a certain point, it was illegal. 2 women could not wrestle in a ring in a lot of America.
Man.
So she wrestled a lot of men, like you said, and at carnivals.
Yeah.
And so, and Josh Lucas, who plays really her love, Billy Wolf, the story goes by, she kind of realizes she wants to be a wrestler when she sees him wrestle. And then she wants him to train her. But then ends up becoming a love interest, her husband, and their tumultuous relationship through almost her whole wrestling career, at least into the 50s. This was co-written and directed by Ash Avildsen, and it's actually based on a 2009 book by Jeff Lean called The Queen of the Ring: Sex, Muscles, Diamonds, and the Making of an American Legend.
Damn, what more could you ask for?
So I just have a question for you. When you looked, you said you watched the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
What vibe did you get when you watched it? You said it looks like maybe it's a streaming thing.
Direct to streaming.
How so?
Yeah, well, I just like, I didn't know, like, is this going to be well written? Is this going to be a real deep dive? Is it going to be a gritty telling of the story?
Right.
Or is this going to be like a commercialization to take advantage of wrestling fans?
Yeah.
To go to get their money.
Besides that last one, it's a no on the rest of them. There are times where it really does feel like a Lifetime movie.
So that's a step down from just streaming.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it being streaming, but yes, and what I mean by that is that it comes off in many aspects as being either like unemotional or quite melodramatic, and I have it in wrestling terms as it was put in a cross-faced chicken wing by cliches and tropes.
Cliche is a good word for it. It kind of felt a little shallow, the vibes anyway.
Well, it is, and that's what's so aggravating is that I appreciate the hell out of someone that wants to bring her name back into the spotlight, because even a person as myself, if you didn't grow up with her, or ours is like Trish Stratus and Lita. So unless, like you said, if it's Attitude Era and stuff, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the truth is, Queen of the Ring doesn't really do her justice either, because there's hardly any character depth to anybody. Like
that's a
Mae
bummer.
Young is known as just kind of the more like willing to kind of like stand up, and she's a lesbian. That's it. That's the only thing I got from that.
Does it strike you as the type of film that we see sometimes where it feels like maybe there was something a little deeper here that got cut and edited to what it is? Or does this feel to you like something that was kind of doomed from the jump?
I think it was just a generalization of trying to capitalize on kind of this the gains that women have made in wrestling,
Yeah.
where it started, how she was smart enough to kind of go into business with herself.
Mm-hmm.
But it still kind of plays into the cliches because, and I mean, again, this is just how I know this. I'm sure this is how things were because she still needed Wolf.
Yeah.
Like it is a man's world, and it
Mhm.
still is in many ways, but certainly back then. But you know, and of course, I mean, he was a carny. I mean, he ran around on her and stuff, and he hit her, and you know, and then it's kind of like, well, we can't divorce because if I do, I'm going to lose this money and stuff, and like all of that. But the way it's done is just so, like, it's so just standard stuff. So when there's not this kind of depth to any of it, it really is like going through the motions, even if I'm
Yeah.
sure that was a hell of a life and I'm sure how awful it must have been. But it also just looks like we're going to connect this to this. But see, she is in business. You see how she's successful, but we don't really even go into that. We don't even go into that she's made all this money. It's more of like she can't divorce him because he's gonna take her money, and she's starting to wear nice things. But okay, but I mean, what was she getting? Like what? Like you're kind of left in the dark a little bit on just where, or they just assume that we are now in the 40s and business is booming.
Yeah.
So there's hardly any character depth. I think it's mostly just stereotypes. But they want you to, they're counting on you knowing the names. So maybe, did you know, you ever heard of Billy Wolf? Oh, look, I think Jim Cornette plays the NWA commissioner at the time.
Which I'm sure was like a wet dream for him.
Yeah. And then Walton Goggins, is actually the one that introduces Mae Young to Mildred, but he's also known as as a big time promoter, Jack Pfeffer.
Okay.
And you can actually, this really also stood out to me. It almost seems out of place, but within Mildred Burke's story, I guess she was friends with Gorgeous George.
Yeah.
But Pfeffer, basically, his claim to fame, or at least how he became kind of the man as a promoter, is he made Gorgeous George. And so, but to me, like, where does that really kind of like,
There's a lot of
he's
story.
sort of inspired by Mildred Burke. And of course,
Yeah.
Gorgeous George inspires Ric Flair.
A lot of people.
And who else credited him? Was it Prince? Someone else had
Yeah.
credited him.
Mhm.
It's nice to know, but I don't
Well,
know what we're adding besides another like familiar name
a cameo
to
essentially.
show
yeah.
you. Yeah, which I don't even know who. I'm not familiar with the person who played Gorgeous George, but he did better than the guy who played Ric Flair in the Iron Claw.
Oh boy,
So we'll
that's
give him that.
Yeah. It feels like it's an awfully ambitious project. Like there's
Yes.
a lot of story to really
And it's
work
over
in.
2 hours long. It's not even like an hour and 40-minute thing where
Oh,
they're like,
man.
gosh, why did you
Yeah.
condense so much? It's just a lot of it is the same old thing where they're introducing new women, then there's cheating. Like, the thing to me is it's so surface level when it actually is, like, when we get down to the message of women's independence just in general, just in society, but also that freedom within the ring
Yeah.
and the equality.
Mm-hmm.
It's all just so, it feels so shallow because her importance doesn't reflect on the screen as much as you think it would,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And and honestly, besides like towards the end where finally, I mean, something's got to give about kind of what she ends up kind of taking on without Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
But that's almost at the very end of it. Up until that point, there's really hardly any wrestling in it. There might be a shot of a body slam or something, but there's really no wrestling. And I didn't really think a lot of that choreography looked that good.
Yeah.
If you thought it was fake before, it clear, like just some of like the kicking and the rolling, like it was very, I don't know. It wasn't very striking as in like, oh, like, and now not all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying all the wrestling scenes are like this, but there's more than a few where it was almost like you got the point across that, see, she took her down, but then it's really like it feels so much less about wrestling and about her impact on that business than really just, we kind of just go over and over the abusive relationship with her and Wolf. I feel like they sprinkle in some wrestling, but it's mostly about and I think that obviously that has to be told because that is a very tough, I mean, I think we've seen a lot of these stories. I mean, I guess because I just watched something with Angela Bassett about, Ike and Turner or Ike and Tina and stuff. Like there's those stories, but then it's like, okay, but like the strength, the perseverance and the dedication, it's there, but it's never really explored. And again, it falls back into these tropes of like a Lifetime where it's like, you already know what's going to happen. Like, he's going to take a liking, she's not going to like it, but she has to stay with them. And how, like, they would even touch on interesting things of like, how could she put herself through this? A single mother who also was raised by a single mother, and then have girls look up to her. But then that's it. It's mentioned, and then we just carry on with repeating ourselves hey, here's Mae Young. Hey, here's, first African-American female wrestlers. And hey, here's June. Oh, you remember June? She's the one that came in and she hurt you in the carnival. So, okay, well, they're going to meet later. Like, it's like, what do we, like, I don't know. It's, again, I know she is significant, but I wish we had a movie that really kind of explored even some things, like I said, that are either mentioned or trying to kind of shift the perspective, but we never stay with it. Like, we don't even stay with it for just a little bit.
Damn.
And it's like, we're just trying to like, oh, look, that broke barriers, and that, look at this, she's business. Oh, look,
it's like
she's
checking boxes.
getting rich. Yeah, but it's like, okay, but where's the substance? Like,
Yeah.
where's the real fight of it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know her journey wasn't easy, but this looks like we're just really just kind of being like, yep, divorce, okay, yep. Oh, look, champion, see?
There we go.
So,
yeah.
The Queen of the Ring, the movie ends where it actually begins at this at a world championship match that was in Atlanta, Georgia, between Burke and June Byers, who what's her name was in?
Camille.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get, and while the ending is what you would expect, kind of a Burke defeating the odds situation, I was interested in how, like, if that's how is that how the match went? Is that really what kind of happened? Because it basically becomes down to like a shoot. Which also, if you're not one, they explain what a heel is and what a shoot is and what a face is.
Well, we got to make sure that everybody is on the same
now
page.
remember who's bad and who's good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But this is per Wikipedia. It says, emotionally exhausted, Burke wrestled Wolf's daughter-in-law. Also, before I continue, this whole thing is a kind of a love, what do they call them?
Triangle?
Yeah. I wanted to say trio, like they're all in it together.
Well,
But there's a
same
thing
math.
where the son-in-law, and so this would be Billy's son, Joe Jr. Nope, sorry. Joe Jr. is her son, because she was a single mother, which again, there's stuff about the single mom stuff that really I think would resonate, but then a lot of times you don't even see the kid. You don't know where he is. They don't show him until he's grown up and he wants to be a manager.
Okay.
So anyway, find that out. But I'm trying to find G-Bill. So Tyler Posey, that he plays G-Bill, who is Billy Wolf's son. He and Mildred, there's this romance, but it's more of like him having a crush on her. And obviously she was married to Billy for most of it. And then when, they kind of wanted to, Billy wasn't having it. All of a sudden, at the end, during this championship match, he says, "Hey, my wife has had enough." And I realize he's talking about June, and that was never... That was the first time you had ever heard of that.
Good.
I had
Good.
So anyway, so now it's Wolf's daughter-in-law, so June Byers, and there was genuine heat between the two. It took place on August 20th, 1954. It quickly became a shoot fight due to genuine animosity between the two women. It says Wolf had the support of the local commission and he positioned a referee that was friendly to his goals into the match. Burke later admitted that she had given up the legitimate first fall with the intention of competing stronger in the second. The second fall never had a finish. All of that is shown in the movie.
Yeah.
But this was not. They called the match. Burke left the ring, so this is kind of where we venture off because I could see how this is not a fun ending. But in reality, Burke left the ring believing that her title was safe because she had not lost the other two falls. The result was that many in the press stated that Byers had defeated her and the importance of Burke's championship began to diminish.
Oh, boy.
And
Okay.
come to find out, and I think it even says it at the end, that she ended up doing like a lot in Japan after this.
Yeah.
Again, not even done. But let me share, this is fun. Let me share you. So this was tweeted out by Pro Wrestling and MMA News. And it talked about how Mick Foley was at the Nashville premiere of the movie. And Emily Bett Rickards, who I'm about to get to, she is the one who plays Mildred Burke.
Mm-hmm. The star of the show.
The star of the show. Mick Foley is quoted. This is his review. "I really enjoyed myself. Queen of the Ring. Star Emily Bett is just spectacular as women's wrestling pioneer Mildred Burke and deserves a mantle full of awards for her portrayal. So maybe she'll get nominated."
That's a dig.
AEW star Camille Brickhouse is excellent as June Byers, with impressive turns from Jim Cornette, Martin Cove, Tony Storm, Naomi, and a cameo from Mickey James.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
So there you go.
Mick Foley must not see that many movies. And here's why. Camille's fine. They said this is her first scripted movie. She does fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's sort of like how Dolph Lundgren did fine in Rocky III.
Okay.
You're there. You're an imposing presence. You're going to be made out to be the villain. Okay. Jim Cornette is
nice
in
and
it
easy.
for 4 minutes. 5 minutes.
Okay.
Mickey James did so good in her cameo. You'll miss it. You will miss it.
Oh, did they cut her?
No, she's in
just
there.
in the background?
But she does one move and gone.
And that's it. Damn.
And remember, that was Fabulous Moolah, which
Yeah.
who cares about that bitch anyway?
Okay. All right.
History has not been kind to her.
History has not been kind to the Fabulous Moolah. No, you're right there.
But I'm just like, and Naomi, let me tell I think she says 2 words, maybe 4 words in that whole movie. So it makes me chuckle because I think Mick Foley wants to get in his wrestling buddies, but they serve almost no purpose to this movie than just being there and being a familiar face. But he is kind of right about Richards. She was in the Arrow and the Flash TV series.
Yeah.
Most people may have seen her for that. She does deliver a rather solid performance. I think she does all she can to convey Mildred's strength, and that's physical and emotional. her passion for the wrestling business and the perseverance that it took to conquer it, because she did conquer it. And after all, as she says in the movie, she married her passion, not a man. And so I do think she tries to do Mildred justice, but Queen of the Ring, just doesn't. Like there is undoubtedly a better way to tell her story, and I know one of the words you used was gritty.
Yeah.
And I felt like something that was grittier and more authentic, that really kind of digs into, I mean, obviously what she endured, but also achieved, rather than we just kind of breeze by it, and we're kind of giving, we're not really building Mildred up during all of these scenes within this abusive relationship, and kind of what Billy, like, it's almost as if like it's a Billy Wolf story too.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's like, I don't think that's right. Like, you can't
Fair.
have Queen of the Ring and then kind of have everything kind of built where she's tied in. Like, I get that there is a part that has to be told about that, because she's literally, it has built the business, and she's got a man who's kind of taking credit for it and enjoying all the riches of it, right?
Yeah.
But she's also a wrestler. Like, what does she do for the wrestling? Like, it felt like, you ever, only because I saw this recently, but this is almost in all sports movies, where, you know how there's all of a sudden a montage of like when like the team has to get together, like in Little Giants.
Mm-hmm.
There's like there's parts of that in this where it's just like, here's one. Oh, here's another. Hey, I've been watching. Can I do it? And like, she was a waitress, and now she's not, and now she wants. Now, oh, this girl likes Billy Wolf, and oh, is that okay with Mildred? Like, again, I feel like we're back to Lifetime stuff.
That's a bummer.
Like, is that how like these other wrestlers got involved? Like, is that like, I don't. So, Richards tries to do her justice, certainly doesn't. Like I said, it's a love life. I mean, again, I know it's part of the story, but it does not have to be all of it.
Yeah.
I am by just with Queen of the Ring. It's a glossy yet desultory soap opera that may appreciate Burke.
Yeah.
I think they do. I think they do have respect for her. They are making a movie about her. But has an extremely difficult time actually showing us the impact and her importance that she had on women and wrestling. My Vix Flix rating, I almost feel like this might be too high, but I will tell you, the effort of just trying to bring it to the screen, trying to kind of put her back in people's minds of what she's been able to do. And even though, I mean, again, Richards I think she does a fine job with what has been given to her by the direction and obviously by the script. Should do more for
Fair
her
enough.
and the woman that she's portraying. And you know what? Anytime you can see Walton Goggins on the big screen.
Love Walton Goggins.
So I'm giving it 2 out of 5. I almost gave it an 1.5, but I kicked it up to 2 for those reasons.
There you go.
So yeah. So Queen of the Ring, go see it. Have your own thought about it.
Is it something you feel like wrestling fans will just like generally enjoy, like the casual moviegoer, the casual wrestling fan?
Maybe, but there's not that much. Like the wrestling that's involved is not that impressive. I
Gotcha.
didn't think.
Yeah.
Not all of it. So I don't know. And then I feel like it's those, if you just want something that just kind of is like, hey, look, you've heard of her, she wrestles, you've heard of these people, but because I'm like, if you're a wrestling fan, you probably, I mean, unless you're Mick Foley, like you're probably thinking, well, gosh, there was like, I felt like there was a lot of untapped stuff there that, like, what did she like do?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I keep having to kind of watch myself, because I don't want people to think like I learned nothing about her. It's not the case. But I know that this movie and maybe no movie can actually kind of compare to everything that she did up to, in her career and in her personal life, especially kind of being the businesswoman, which I think probably stands out the most more than the wrestling, is that she was able to make money off of it. But there's a better version. It can exist. And this ain't it. This is just a, in a lot of ways, it feels standard. It feels a little stale, and it just kind of feels so, just generic. Like it's almost like they took, I don't know. I'm almost interested in reading the book that it's based off of, just to kind of see, because I'm sure there's a lot more in there than what, that's the case in every movie. But yeah, as the longer the movie kept going, the more I just thought, I don't really know if anybody really had a real grasp on the story they're wanting to tell. So
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So anyway, Queen of the Ring, it's out now, and go check it out for yourself. Mick Foley probably won't be there. Don't get your hopes up.
Yeah, but that's the lesson I've learned from this podcast is we probably don't need to take movie recommendations.
Yeah,
from Mick
no,
Foley.
I was happy to go, happy to see it, but I was expecting more. Expecting more.
Fair enough. All right. Well, that is going to do it for us here on this special bonus episode of the Vick's Flicks podcast. He's Brandon Vick. I'm Stoney Keeley. You can check out all of our work for Nashville Movie Dispatch wherever you take in your podcasts, or at nashvillemoviedispatch.substack.com. It's free to get all of our reviews, all of our podcasts. Paid subscribers get access to our paid features. They get a copy of our movie annual at the end of every year. And it's just $5 a month or $30 for the year to support local journalism at Nashville Movie Dispatch.
Can I just say one thing?
What's up?
I really need to have another conversation with Mickey James now that I have seen it.
You do need a do-over there.
Yeah. Not a do-over, but also more of like, hey, you were wrong.
Hold her accountable.
Hey, Fabulous Moolah, you were dead wrong.
Yeah, you weren't even in this. Until next time, that's going to do it for us here at Nashville Movie Dispatch. Until next time, you stay classy, moviegoers.